Hello and welcome to the set. My name is Mac. This is the bass station, as I call it. I primarily focus on playing bass guitar, and I have a lot of fun doing it. So welcome. And if you're watching this, I recommend watching it on 2 times speed. I'll take my time to go through the notes that I have written down here. But yeah, it, I'm going to be introducing you to the journey that I'm on as a bass player, uh, what has become my primary focus after having played bass guitar for years is all of a sudden I'm, of course, working on the signal path integrity and, of course, crafting my tone, bro. But I'm all of a sudden encountering actual problems that have gotten in the way of my creativity. They have been not minor, but moderate to major roadblocks. And as it would turn out in the research that I've done leading up to this very, very exponential peak that we're at right now, I would have found out a few very vital pieces of information that are going to help me uh, get even farther past the problems that I'm having now and more towards, tone crafting. And you'll see that the list that I have here is comprehensive, but I'm going to hopefully be able to burn through it in about 3 minutes, 4 minutes, if I can get to it quick enough. So I think I've covered the housekeepings and everything that you should know if you are watching this. The only other thing I have written down here is that I've done my best to self-educate with the use of language models, YouTube, but most importantly by engaging here at the community with Audio University. It just so happens that it would be a community that put itself together very quickly, and I got involved at the very, very last minute. Just so last minute that it would happen, I would get a chance to ask a very core component of the questions that I'm about to present to you to the presenter who was uh, available to us today by the name of Gabe Herman. Gabriel was really helpful and provided valuable information. But anyway, that was all to say that I'm overwhelmed with the information that has been made available. And I'm just kind of trying to keep it simple. All I'm trying to do is play some bass and get a bass track out so that I can play with a guitarist and a drummer. But the problems that I'll have, spoiler alert, my bass was popping when I was playing with it. I think there's something wrong with the pickups. I went to go and look at it, and there's something wrong with the hardware. I was having a hard time monitoring my performance and my playback because as a bass player, I believe there's a lot more to being able to hear those sub frequencies and not drowning out, and actually also hearing the highs and the mids in your mix. It became way, way, way more complex than I was ever expecting it to become as a bass player, which is just supposed to kind of just have this backbone roll to everything. Whereas my style of playing is very performance forward, high energy, funked up surfer punk sort of thing. Uh, I never thought it would be so complex. So here's how I'm going to kind of start off this conversation. Can we agree that in the modern home studio application, it takes more than just plugging the bass from the instrument cable into the audio interface and recording a track? You have to treat the signal somehow. I've realized that there are free and very economically available VST plugins, which I have some of them available on screen, or actually, I don't even have those on screen. I have the hardware that I'm controlling down on the floor here, and the that we can agree that the signal needs to be treated somehow, if it's with a DI box or with the cab, which is powered by the amp, which is captured by the microphone. There's all of a sudden so many options, which I was just like, wait, I can't just plug in my bass and record it. At least that's not what seemed to be a viable solution and a viable application. So that's what I would like to preface this conversation going forward. All right, let me see if I can burn through this list. Thanks for hanging out with me. Let's see what this says. There's kind of a lot to it, but it starts off by saying, I'm in the process of evaluating the hardware of my equipment. I don't know if there was something wrong on the bass. I will show you the screws there was one that was protruding and one that was buried. And then all of a sudden I tried to adjust and drive one and the other, and one was stuck in place, and I stripped partially the head. And that's all me trying to find a remedy to when I slap the bass, it pops. There's a loud artifact of sound coming through that pops. Next bullet point. At that same rate, why is my bass so quiet? Why is it that when I try to play with the guitarist or the drummer, I'm doing other tricks and like I'm scrambling and panicking to try to keep up, and I'm not as heard in the mix. Is it a monitoring issue? Should I get in-ear monitors? The key component here that you should also know is I don't have a bass amp. I actually sold my bass amp because I was trying to go for a solution that would allow me to practice within my practicing hours of 9 p.m. to about 1 a.m., which is almost midnight right now. Anyway, going on. Why was my bass so quiet? In order to try and make up and compensate for how quiet things were, I was starting to perform more with my thumb pick. My thumb pick is something that I'm trying to preserve, and if I play too hard, it damages and destroys my thumb. So I have other picks that I like to use to remedy that, but I get the very best enjoyment out of playing with my thumb. And I'd love to bring, I guess, what is the terms we're going to bring are like what is the best headroom that I can provide while also gain staging the bass to where I don't have to, like the most professional bass guitar players do, is they play efficiently. They don't play with a lot of energy. Even though that's like my style, I'm kind of like wanting to find that balance. I don't see a lot of need for outboard gear as a bassist, but I'd love to know if there is something that I'm missing. I'll show you what I have. It's just the SansAmp bass DI, and then I have the Helix Stomp, the Helix Stomp XL. But what more should I get? I have the preamps for these, and I have the the compressor, but I'd love to know if there's like not a silver bullet or something that I'm just looking to spend or burn money on, but what else should I include or make considerations for? That brings up this discussion of the DI versus amp. What Gabe brought up to me was there's this big difference between what the direct signal can provide and what the acoustic movement of the air with these very low bass frequencies that you have to be 5 feet away to even hear the most impact of their highest energy. So, he blew my mind when he responded to me with what my solution for this application might end up being. And he's like, you have to take this into consideration as well. But I told him my practice hours, and he's like, totally get it. You can't have a bass amp. You probably have housemates. I have a 8-month-old boy. So yeah, I can't be playing bass through an amp. So have I set up a properly decent monitoring solution? Both through performance and through playback. Is there something I'm missing about the bass? Am I missing a silver bullet? Just to kind of wrap that segment up, sometimes I'll even hear the tack of my thumb pick on the strings through these open ear over the head earphones or over the ear headphones more than I do through the mix. There's so many things now, I'm getting lost in the middle of the actual list. A solid example of what might help my bass signal out. Just to kind of put a bottom line between comparing the signal path from the instrument cable from the bass to the DAW and tracking it to having the DI box, and then what other treatments to the signal. I'm getting to the very end. I think I only have two more here. I'd love to speak to a sales engineer or somebody who has experience with bass players, or who has been a bass technician before. That'd be incredible. And then this last one, yeah, it basically says I'm wanting to make only an investment in in-ear monitors, unless I'm convinced of otherwise. So yeah, unless I'm otherwise able to come up with a very specific question, then maybe somebody could be like, well, here is an aha moment that I had as a bass guitar player. Other specifics, I don't think any of the hardware that I have is holding me back. I have a PreSonus Studio audio interface. Let me just see, these last little bits on this note here are able to kind of help me wrap things up. There's too much information to sift through. Like I said, I'm still trying, but even as an example, if you look it up through, if you just type in the word bass in the Sweetwater blog post, almost every single blog post results back. So you like, it's like I'm living in a world of guitarists. We aren't even talking about tone crafting yet. I want to just focus on, first of all, getting rid of that pop, which I can even hopefully replicate, and then I'll post that in the appropriate places, and then we'll start to craft my tone. Like I said earlier, I'm going for a crunchy tone with a grunge, thumb-picking, punked-up surfer funk harmonic, and powerful, distinct, really fun. It's going to be really fun to play around with that. That being said, I have super basic questions at the same time. Like when, just as an example of a super basic question, when I'm plugging in a bass into a effects pedal, like a Sonic Maximizer or something like a H90 or like the HX Stomp, it puts it out in a stereo. Do I have to capture that in stereo to get like the stereo flange, or like I was surprised to all of a sudden go from one instrument cable to two patch cables out, and I was just like, oh shit, this is already all of a sudden becoming more complicated than I actually even really anticipated. So anyway, that's all I have written down here. I want to make sure that I'm just in line with like the simplest solutions, which one of which isn't really buying a bass amp, but I understand how that could be a solution in a certain application. Anyway, I'm going to grab the camera that I have here, and I'm going to show you the hardware just real up close so that you get a really brief idea of like what's going on with these screws. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and grab that camera. Good. So we'll just get a couple stages of focus in here. You see how that screw is poking out way farther than that one? I think that screw is stuck. You can even see it. I partially stripped the head of it. It's like not as intact as these other ones. I don't know. This is a bass that I literally found in a garage. So that'll be where I start. I've also got an acoustic that I could play, and that's how I track it with these guys. And then I've also got this thing, but this thing has active EQ and it has a battery and another knob. I don't even want to play this until I understand what's going wrong with this. So anyway. Thanks for watching. I hope to perhaps cross paths with you and engage with you. you'll see me here on the set live from time to time. So until then, yeah, thanks again for your time. And yeah, bye bye.